Hi, St. Luke's family. How do you feel if you were walking down the road and got mugged and were laying there and someone came by and walked towards you and then stopped and said, "Not going to help you. It's not my problem." Then they looked a little bit closer and said, "Wait, is that you, Bob? Did you get mugged? You had that coming." And then walked on. What would you feel like if that were you, the one laying there? What would you feel like if that was your kid, the one who is laying there? So we're in another look today in our little series called Small But Mighty, and some of the smallest books of the Bible, and just the message that they bring is still a challenge and encouragement for us still today. Today we're looking at the book of Obadiah, which is the shortest book in the Old Testament. It's part of the minor prophets, so it's near the end of the Old Testament. Obadiah was written at a hard time in Israel's history. Israel had been captured and exiled by the Babylonians, and so it is God's response to some of that. So here's what happened. Obadiah is actually, the name Obadiah is the prophet who's marking down or had this vision. And Obadiah means servant of Yah, or servant of Yahweh, Obadiah. And that's the name. And God is talking to another nation. He's talking to Edom, is who he says. And Edom, I'm going to go low tech here, but here's a little map that we have here, just at the back of a Bible, and this shows Israel and all the environs, and down at the very bottom is Edom. So below the Dead Sea and around it is Israel and Judah and all the nations related there. And in the book of Obadiah, it keeps talking about Judah and Edom, or Jacob and Esau. So people would have known in those times that Edom was known as the relatives of Esau, the ones that came from Esau's lineage, and Israel came from Jacob's lineage. And way back, Jacob and Esau were twin brothers who did not get along most of their lives together. And so we come into this time. And in that time, Israel had gotten carried away. They had gotten captured by Babylon. And instead of helping their brothers, the Edomites instead turned their backs. They turned their backs. They didn't go to battle and help their brothers, the Israelites. Instead, they turned their backs. And in fact, as Obadiah points out, when survivors came looking for help, they actually turned them over to the Babylonians, and they looted what was left in Israel. And so God says, "What you have done, Edom, is not right. You think that you're protected." Edom is down in that low region. There are a lot of mountains. It's kind of in a mountainous area. And so the Edomites felt that they were really protected up in the mountains. Who goes and attacks people up in the mountains? It's hard to get to. And so Edom thought they were safe. And God says, "What you have done is not right. And you think that you're safe because of where you are and who you are. But you're not. You turned your back on your brothers. And so the same thing will be coming to you." So we take this little book in the Old Testament, and it's always, sometimes it's good to try and put ourselves in this, and today and in our own personal lives. So we can look at this as something between nations, as Israel and Edom, and how the one turned their backs on the other, and look at nations of the world today. And what are ways that nations turn their backs on others and say, That's not my problem. That's your issue. You've got that coming to you. Are we complicit in our nation in that at all? And in what ways? I think those are good questions to ask. And are other people, do others do that either to us or to others in the world? Especially in this pandemic time, how are we as nations reaching out and helping and assisting in each other? And in what ways are we turning our backs and saying, oh, we've got our problems, you've got yours too? We can also look at it personally in our own relationships with our own families. Jacob and Esau is how this all started. And so to look and say, where do we fit in there? Are there any ways that God might be challenging me there in the relationships I have with my family or further coworkers or other things like that? Are there things that God might be asking me to look at in my relationships with those? Are there ways that I've turned my back on others or said, you had that coming. This is your problem. Or maybe you may read this and say, somebody's done that to me. Know that towards the end of Obadiah, God gives hope. He gives hope for the Israelites who've been let go, felt like they've had their backs turned on them, and said he will not give up on them, that he'll bring them back. He'll bring them back, and he's still their God. And the last line of all of Obadiah is this: the kingdom shall be the Lord's, so that all that happens when he brings people back will be God's. Well, we didn't read the book here together, but I encourage you to find and read the book of Obadiah and see what challenges and encouragement God has in that for you. God be with you. Bye.